I guess it's entropy day because this is going to deal with entropy as well. And this is called Maximizing Confidence Alone Improves Reasoning. And it's put out by Carnegie Mellon University. This particular paper caught my eye because I have seen firsthand this particular method that they lay out and knew that you could do these things for, it's called like 6 months now. And it's interesting to me how I saw that and the story behind that, and then the concept that we're looking at here, which is all about just maximizing confidence alone, right? The overall concept to me kind of plays in on itself in funny ways. So how did I experience and see this 6 months ago? Well, I was working on a project. I can't say a whole lot about the project overall, but I was working with a very, very prominent physics researcher, like who has like a lot of credibility and like has worked on like call it like a very, very significant breakthrough with regards towards like physics, AI, and geometry overall. And then so working with them on this, they essentially had hypothesized this, and then so they were working through this for a few weeks. And they hypothesized essentially that like you could do this within a model, right? That you could essentially take the confidence score within the model, measure that, break it down into Hamming distance, and then and then within that you essentially take the Hamming distance and you would split it in half, right? So above 50 or above 0.5 would be that the model is confident, and then anything below 0.49 would be that the model is not confident, and you just drop the not confident portion of that. And then feed that forward, and then just by simply doing that, you can increase model performance. I've gone over kind of these things in a roundabout way on my channel in a few different ways and a few different ways before. But so this is the very first time that I ever saw it happen, right? And then within that, they were unsure as to like whether or not like what they were looking at, right? So they questioned themselves a lot. And then so, and they also like were very hated. They didn't want to showcase it, right? Especially like around me. And then so, I ended up essentially very specifically and clearly like reverse engineering and coming about their model and their solution and the way that they did it in a different way, right? And then so I was able to prove it out and prove that it worked, but I wasn't able to prove it in the exact same way that this prominent researcher was. So I think that that in and of itself probably gave them enough doubt to not patent it and go through that overall, right? Which was their overall process within that. They wanted to like patent out the technology. And then like it's through experience that I've learned that I don't want to go down those roads with these things, right? Like when people hit me up like let's patent this, patent that, like I've been there, bro, I'm good. But so within that, essentially they find this and they discover this, but I think that they didn't have enough confidence in themselves and the method, and then who they were bouncing off of being me, in order to prove out that like this would actually be something like viable out there in the world, right? But then so here we are, when you don't follow your gut instincts, when you don't follow your confidence, Carnegie Mellon University beats you to the punch, and then now it's all open sourced and free to the world. So it's I consider it a win all around. But so let's talk about this particular research paper here, what it enables in their method. So in this paper, they propose RENT, which is reinforcement learning via entropy minimization, which is a fully unsupervised reinforcement learning method that requires no external reward or ground truth answers, and instead uses the model's entropy of its underlying distribution as an intrinsic reward. And that's the bottom line of this research paper here within it, right? It's like I boil it down in my head to, if you're familiar with the movie Spaceballs, like the whole thing with the Schwartz rings, and then like the main character, like the main hero, he gets his Schwartz ring stolen, and then the guy, like the yogurt guy, is like, it's all butt kiss anyway, right? It doesn't matter because I found the Schwartz ring in a Cracker Jack box. It's all inside of you the whole time, bro. Like the Schwartz was in you the entire time, and then that's like what this boils down to me, right? And then this is like the interesting part, and this is a interesting subject and an interesting dynamic that I've been talking about on this channel for a long time, right? Like, and I try to hit this subject in various different ways. So a main argument that people like to make is that models lack X internally. Like models don't have the ability to do Y because they don't have X internal function. And then if you understand, like if you approach these things from a biological level, there are biological organisms that exist that already meet those definitions, right? Dolphins don't feel emotions because they don't have the central nervous system in order to process emotions. So to me, I think that they experience emotions. I 100% think that dolphins experience emotions. From a scientific standpoint, it is an unproven statement to say that dolphins feel emotions, because if you want to take the most the purest stance that you possibly can within it, you take the stance that you are unsure that they have the internal workings. They don't have the internal components, right? And then so that's where those arguments come from and stem from. And then so because they don't have the internal components and the internal workings, they can't do it. But then so when we look at real world experiments like dolphins, for example, and feeling emotions, they end up doing it. Like nature finds a way. And then so to me, it's more and more, I think what it's proving out and what people are starting to understand within this equation is that the hardware doesn't actually matter as much as people think that it does, right? Like the specific configuration, how the human brain is operated, the different regions of the human brain. I think that there's too much weight put onto those things. Like the regions are important. The regions do different things. There's differentiations within those things, but it's the fact that it's a closed unit, right? And it's like just the fact that and evolution had millions of years in order to play around with it and move it forward and push it. But it's just the fact that it's this soup that exists, and if you have enough soup, then that's what you need to move forward, and the internal parts will emerge from the soup itself, and then that's kind of the more and more breakdown that I see within this, right? And then so their introduction into this is very crystal clear, right? So imagine you're taking an exam. Once it begins, no new information is available and no external help could be sought. With only your own reasoning to rely on, how do you tackle a difficult problem? You might make an initial attempt, assess your confidence in the answer, and revise your reasoning until you feel sufficiently certain. Of course, confidence is not a guarantee of correctness, but in the absence of feedback, it is often the only intrinsic signal we have to guide further thought. So in such settings, humans tend to optimize for confidence, or equivalently to reduce uncertainty. So essentially, all they do to address this is we propose reinforcement learning via entropy minimization, a fully unsupervised reinforcement learning method that improves reasoning performance by using the model's own confidence as a reward. So it's just it's a GRPO policy, right? So it's GRPO based, so group relative policy optimization, and then within that, the reward is an internal entropy reward. So it's GRPO, but it's 100% internal reward mechanism, right? So and that's it. And then it's just the model improving itself. So you give it a data set, right? Like the process for this would be straightforward. Let's say it's math. I give it a set of 500 math problems, and then it would go through the first epoch, and then come up with answers to those 500 problems, and then how confident is the model in its answers. That's the improvement, right? And then so again we can so the way that I've seen this broken down before is Hamming distance. The way that they're breaking this down into this paper is entropy, right? So there's different ways and differing ways to break this down. And then so again, all of that comes down to me and boils down to computational theory, as stated by Stephen Wolfram. More and more, if computational theory is true, then there would be multiple different ways in order to arrive at these things, and multiple different ways in order to do these things. I would be able to use entropy, surprise, Hamming distance, Fourier transforms, KL, convergence. There would be a plethora, and some of these methods would be better than others. And then coincidentally, that's exactly how it all works out. So it all works out according to the computational model. It just works, right? If it works, I'm going to roll with it. You can argue and spend time arguing whether or not that's philosophically true from there if you want. But to me, it works in practice. If you want to continue debating the theory behind it, then go ahead. It works in practice. So then we go through, and as we're seeing here, right? And then their method is very specifically to just have the model train on its entropy response in this instance, and then so they train it on different data sets, and then so it's GSM-8K, Math 500. It's all like all mathematics basically, right? But then so it's the only thing that is driving the model or improving the model again is just its internal confidence score, right? Its internal workings, and then so the questions that they give it, right? Like so, for example, like here's the question, right? You're Quinn, created by Alibaba Cloud. You're a helpful assistant. Jack is mad at his neighbors for blasting Taylor Swift all night, so he slashes 3 of their tires and smashes their front window. If the tires cost $250 each and the window costs $700, how much will Jack have to pay for the damages? Let's think step by step and output the final answer after this formatting, right? And then so then the model goes through and then it thinks through step by step, and then based off of the model's own confidence score, it's able to adjust this, and this goes up in accuracy the more like instances, instantiations that you feed the model through in this instance. And then that's essentially the end of the research paper here, right? That's it. So they prove that this method works overall. And then so like bottom line to me, like going back to the original story, right? Like it's crazy to like that this concept would even work overall, right? Like up front. Like so you're taking X concept and then you're just saying like, hey, like model output an answer, and then you're saying like, okay, like improve your confidence. Okay, improve your confidence. Okay, improve your confidence. And then you just keep throwing out whatever it says it's unconfident about until you converge on an answer that is more than the original starting place. And then so it's like, well, like how does like what the heck is going on with that? Like how exactly is that working, and what is that process overall to me, right? And then like to me, I've been trying to frame this as much and as clearly as I can and frame it within the channel, like the context of Platonic forms, because I think that's the best framing for that overall, right? Platonic forms, and then in this instance we're dealing with truth, and then like Plato's definitions of truth being small t versus large T truth. And then so in this instance, it's we'll call it a philosophical assumption at this point that the universe is not comprised of big T truth, right? That they're nowhere in the universe as we know it, as it's constructed in the construction of the universe itself, the jar that holds the universe. There is no big T truth within that jar. Maybe external of that jar, there could be a big T truth that exists, but in everything that we know and our jar that we operate within, the assumption is that there's no big T truth, only small t truth exists, right? So there's only truth and not truth. And then so within that, essentially, if that's true, and then computation theory is true, then all of this makes sense. Like essentially what we're doing is we're asking the model to evaluate a small t truth, no matter what it is, no matter what problem that we give it, it will always be a small t truth, right? So then even like this Taylor Swift example that we're giving it, like this math example, the result and the answer to this is always a small t truth within our universe, right? And then so within that, if it's always a small t truth, that means that it's always tied to probability and it's probabilistic. And then so the model is just guiding itself based off of that. And then computationally, it works out, right? And then so why exactly what's the exact mechanisms as to why that works? I'll let people that are smarter than me try to deduce and explain those things, right? I've given you up until like this point as to how I think it works and how it gets together. I think it gets kind of weird from here, like just bottom line. And I don't know. I don't know. I know nothing, Jon Snow. So that's where I'm at within these things. But all I know and all I've known is that I've seen methods like these actually work, and I've gone over them with, again, the most prominent scientists and biggest minds that you could go through within these things. I do have discussions and back and forth, Socratic, questioning around these things, right? I just do it with very qualified people on the projects that I'm working on within those things. And that's kind of just how I go about my process when I'm tackling that overall. And then so that allows me to sit on knowledge like this overall. And then in this instance, I've been sitting on this knowledge and I'm cagey, and I've been cagey around this particular subject. And again, I have brought it up on my channel, but I have like an NDA around this. And then so it makes me kind of hesitant. And then also too, like there's a reason why I don't and I haven't gotten into further NDAs and I haven't patented and haven't wanted to patent or go through any sort of patent path and turn it all down because of that, right? I don't ever want to be in that position again. I don't like being in that position. And then so I like being able to talk about these things as they come out, and here's cool research. And then it allowed, like at this point to me, everything that I have known or discovered under that NDA has already, like 1,000,000% now, been put out by like a multitude of institutions, right? And then so I guess that's the other thing that I would state within this is like I don't think it's really, it doesn't serve anyone any good, or nor is it advantageous like at all to like kind of go through that route, like that typical route, which is the traditional route when it comes to these things, right? Which is, but because these things are advancing and moving so quickly, right? Like I said, like 6 months ago, and not even call it like 5 months ago is the very first time that I saw this. And then it like 100% confidence, like no one else on the planet had seen it at that time. And then so from there to here, and then this isn't the first research paper that I've gone over on my channel around these general topics and around this particular topic overall that has cut into that. And then so we see that there's been just a massive advancement within 5 months, right? Because everyone's going after the same thing. Everyone has access to the same tools. Everyone has access to the same resources. And it's how skilled are you at asking those questions, right? And then as this knowledge becomes more and more pervasive, more and more people get skilled enough to answer the questions. And so the only thing that you can really do then is keep advancing your knowledge and stay 2 steps ahead of those things, and keep staying 2 steps ahead. Why do I continue making and studying these research papers every day and making videos on these things every day? I don't know. To me, it all goes back into a feedback loop, right? And so there you are. And so if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.